Welcome to our Help the Helpers on Rosh Hashanah, right? It's New Year today, today and tomorrow in the Jewish calendar, and I was not brought up Jewish, although I'm part Jewish. But for me, this is, of course, New Year, the beginning of the school year, the beginning of when everything begins. So it's a delight to begin the new year with Beth talking about touch, which is such an important subject, and it's touching to feel and think and be together. This so basic issue of connectedness. And Katerina is going to introduce Beth. I just want to say, because if I say it later, maybe some people will have had to leave. We're going to have a planning meeting at 10 o'clock for those people on the sort of guiding committee, and all of you are welcome to help us from 10 to 10:30 with ideas about this year and about the speakers that you want to hear from. I also want to say that this discussion will be on our new YouTube channel, Focusing Therapies. And if you haven't subscribed to that YouTube channel, we have about 300 subscribers now, right, Jim?
I don't know the number, but
we've gotten a lot of subscribers in the last couple of weeks, and we hope to include you, and we hope that if you have videos that you want up on that channel, you'll let us know. And I need the channel. Okay, so let's come back to now and this morning. And Katerina, you're on.
So we introduced Beth Mahler from New Jersey on the east coast of the USA, who has been teaching focusing as a certified coordinator and also at the university in New Jersey. She has written a very beautiful article, which is the springboard for today's lesson with Beth and the discussion. And I know Beth from many, many years from the Resonant Sensing for Peace, where we meet and focus into the earth and the planet and the world and peace. So we've been sharing that form of focusing. And thank you very much for coming today, Beth. We look forward to hearing you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Katerina. And welcome, everyone. Today, I titled the reflection, Touching Interoception. And by touching, just like Lynn began to express, it's this more than just the literal physical touch. Touch to me means treating like a human being, touching someone and loving and being loved. Touch means the freedom to express emotions freely, spontaneously. And touch is an interaction, which sometimes we need a boundary or a barrier from, and sometimes we open to it. And so when I talk about interoception, I'm gonna, it's a huge topic, but what I'm gonna focus on today is largely the interaction of our body's container of the skin. The skin is the largest organ of our body. The entire surface area that it covers is actually known in the medical world as the largest organ we have. The skin is also 70% of our immune system. Immunologists will tell you that it's our first layer of defense. It protects us. It keeps out those germs that want to get in, all those thousands of peepholes. And our skin has, I don't even know how many, maybe millions, but it has all these sensory receptors. And interoception is this space between where the skin is constantly interacting with the environment around us, physically, socially, and emotionally. And so there's this sort of closing and opening of these different sensory receptors that is occurring all the time. So when we think about being helpers, one of the things we often are looking to help people with and to help ourselves with is regulation of the emotional system, of the physical body system. And so we might call the interoception that we do with ourself, self-regulation, the thing that helps us to regulate our body system, to bring ourselves back to a sense of safety and calm. Co-regulation is that interaction between me and the environment. Maybe I hug a tree and I'm touching interoception to connect and input this sense of co-regulating my system. I don't know if you've ever seen images of people, refugee children who are coming to this country without their parents, and you see a small child just reach their hand to the person next to them, to their thigh, or to their, they lean against their body. They're looking, they're seeking this co-regulating touch, comfort from another human being. It might be a total stranger. A person at a hurricane or a tornado, it's just devastated their home, their entire neighborhood. You might notice those first images that you see, a person holds in a gasp of exasperation, but at the same time that they're gasping, they're connecting to this touch, this self-regulating innate capacity that our body already knows to touch the self, to begin this, I've been devastated and I need to begin to calm this overacting, overwhelmed system. In emergency wilderness first aid, they teach us about hypothermia. Hypothermia is the body's inability to regulate its temperature anymore. And so the body temperature, for every degree it goes lower, our cells start to move slower in our body, which means we can't spread blood and oxygen throughout our system. And so that first line of defense, that survival in the wilderness, they teach us the only form of warmth that we can give another person is skin to skin contact. To get inside a sleeping bag with another human being who has hypothermia until the emergency EMTs can get there so that their body can continue regulating with the interoception of your body with it. That skin to skin contact is vital. So we know this, our body knows this. And in yogic circles, in churches around the world, there are mandalas, mudras, there are prayer hands, there are, touching my mind's eye in ways of connecting with the soul, the essence of ourself, in a form of coming inward to connect deeper with this touch of our own skin to skin. And in the medical world, there's a hormone our body releases naturally. And in layman's terms, they call it the hug medicine or the handshake medicine. And this hormone that our body naturally produces is called oxytocin. And this hormone is a pain reliever. This hormone is released in our body by the mere simple skin to skin contact of a hug, or even clothing to clothing. A handshake has been brought into our societies to shake hands, but it's been this wonderful researched and well-documented natural hormone that is released that begins this capacity of internally stimulating our self-regulatory processes, relieves pain. So what I'm going to bring to you today, maybe I'll take a breath after I said all of that, and you all can take that in. And even with that breath as it comes in, there's a touching the insides of our throat that brings it down into our heart and our lungs. It touches us on the inside. It brings us to our most present moment. So here we are in September 2022. And there continues to be a deprivation, as social distancing, which has many important layers for the world health, where we have not been able to touch, maybe with hugs and kisses, for our own safety, for our own health of the world, the organization. And we continue in that. How do we continue touching interoception so we can have that capacity of self-regulation stimulated co-regulation stimulated in our bodies. And so I'm going to bring you a practice today that I use with clients. I use on myself before I go to sleep at night. It helps my whole body system sort of come to calm. And there was an article where this came from for me, called Gentle Power, and Katarina put it in the chat and she'll put it in there again if anybody wants to download that or look at that later. But in this article, there is what's called the Latifa prayer. And it's a simple, oh, how do I go? Oh, that's only one page of it, sorry. That's not what I want. Okay. So this Latifa prayer comes with this way that we're going to connect with our body contact. And so we're going to use these simple words at a different location in our body. And this is self-touch. So this is the connecting to that self-regulatory process. And at each location of our body today, when we experiment with this, we're also going to use our focusing skills of connecting as I guide you. The guidance is going to give you a gentle and general area of where you might put your hands. To the first one is the lower left area of your abdomen near your hip. And we're going to give you a moment, and I'm going to give you a pause, and I'm going to invite you to sense inside there. So as you're connecting to this touch, you're also connecting to this interoception of you here in the present moment. And so I'll invite you, once you've found that location, to then say the words, and you can say them out loud, which also might allow for that vibrational quality of your voice. And you're on mute, so you could say it as loudly or softly, because voice comes from the inside as the touch is connecting to your clothing or your skin. And this is the way the interaction of touch, interoception can occur, to notice and to connect with the inside place and the outside place interacting together. Okay, so I'm going to invite you to these different locations in your body, and I'm going to guide you through that. But I want you to remember, my voice is a guide. As in focusing, we know if your awareness goes to a different location, that it feels right and connecting to your inside place, you put your hands in the place that it feels right for you. If it feels right to not touch skin to skin, but maybe just put your hands in the air, in the environment next to that, allow yourself to do that. You might want to reach under your shirt and notice the temperature of your skin making contact to your hand. And notice what occurs there. So I saw a question come up in the chat. something about where does Latifa come from? So the Latifa comes from the Sufi tradition. And this actually, finding this article came in a very serendipitous moment, which told my body to like go toward it, study this more, practice this. Janet Funder, who was a very well-loved focusing trainer of mine, longtime mentor of mine when I was learning and focusing, and she was part of a Sufi meditation group. She would always talk about it. At some point in her teachings, she would teach focusing in dreams, and she would teach other workshops, but she always brought up this Sufi meditation group that she was a part of in her regular weekly practice. And after she died, I never studied Sufi meditation, but after she died, a month or two after, a friend had given me this magazine called Happiness, has a Z at the end. And in it was this article called Gentle Power, which describes where this prayer comes from and the Sufi origin of it. And right there in that moment, I was like, oh my God, this was calling me. I was called to it. And I began this practice of self-touch. I do it laying on my bed, on my back, right before I go to bed at night. And as soon as I turn to my side, I immediately fall asleep. It provides, for me anyway, it fits, and it provides such a self-soothing, self-regulating, connecting with that touch and that interoception. So I want to share it with you. It may not do the same for you, but I hope you're willing to explore, try out the practice. Okay, so let's first just begin by getting yourself into a comfortable place. If you are taking any notes, you might want to put down your pen or take your last sip of cup or coffee or tea and to warm the insides. And just begin by noticing your whole body here. You might notice the feet making contact to the floor beneath you. You might actually wiggle your toes or widen your stance. Just noticing that contact point to begin to get grounded. Notice your presence. You might notice the couch or chair you're sitting on. If you can invite that to hold you. And notice the full body support that's available. You could settle in, noticing the contact points. Yeah, and maybe even a little movement to invite your body to connect and settle with that. Once you feel grounded, present, fully here with your whole body. I'm going to invite you to take your non-dominant hand and allow it to hold, connect with your dominant hand in whatever way it feels right for you. And I'm going to invite you to place that dominant hand onto the lower left region of your abdomen, your belly. And just take a moment to find that just right place for you. And once you've found that place, I'm going to invite you to say the words, invite the words, I exist. Just notice what happens there. It might feel right to repeat the words. It might feel right to say it and then sense. I exist. You exist. We exist. When it feels right and ready for you and your body, inviting your non-dominant hand to gently gather up your dominant hand and carry it to the right side of your abdomen. And again, just taking a moment to sense that just right place that you're making contact to you, to your shirt layer or your skin layer, or maybe just the air around that space. Let that land there. Let that touch connect. And when you feel ready, invite the words, I long. Just noticing there, sensing Inviting that felt sense to form. You long. We long. When it feels right, again, gathering up that dominant hand with your non-dominant hand and letting it gently move the other to the next location, which is on the left side of your body, below your breast, on your lower rib cage, somewhere there. And again, take a moment to find that just right contact point. As you invite in the words, I hope. At this location, there's a particular, our rib cage protects our lungs. And right there is where our lower lung can expand the furthest. So you may want to invite a deeper, slower breath as you invite the words, I hope. Notice what that touches. You hope. We hope. Just inviting yourself when it feels right to now move those hands again to the lower rib cage on the right side, somewhere there on your upper abdomen, on your right side, making that contact point. Saying hello, whatever way feels right for you. And inviting in the words, I trust. You trust. We trust. Now I invite you to bring your hands to around the throat, sort of maybe landing or settling somewhere on your collarbone, making that contact. And inviting in the words, once you've settled there, I let go. This is also the site of our voice box. So you may want to notice if there's a sound comes in the felt sense form. And you might invite that sound to allow the vibrational quality to connect, to touch you, you to touch it. I let go. You let go. We let go. And I'll just bring in Eugene Genlin's voice that always comes at some point to remind us if any disruptions occur or there's, see if we could try to not judge it, but just bring our curious, interested, focusing attitude toward it. Just when that feels right to move, connecting your hands to the center of your chest, the heart area, chakra. Making that contact first, finding that just right location for you, your hands. And inviting in the words, I love. Just noticing, sensing, You love. We love. In your own time, inviting your hands down to that last location right there by our origin, our umbilical cord, that center of our belly, our dantian. And inviting that connection. Noticing. I am prepared. Just inviting in those words, noticing whatever comes. Just taking a final moment to come to a final close to this process in whatever way feels right to you. It might be returning to one of the locations that was particularly present and viable with a palpable felt sense. It might be using two hands, might be touching each of them, or it might just be laying your palms open on your thighs to just sense the whole of this experience. When it feels right and you feel ready, reconnecting this whole Help for Helpers group here. My apologies for anyone who needs to leave at 9. I'm 3 minutes over. That's pretty much par for the course for me, though. There's always so much more I want to do than be, connect. So I'm just wondering, does it feel valuable to just go directly into the partnerships, or do we need a little time still, even though I went right up to 9? to gather as a group, to hear a few responses, expressions.
I think that might be a good idea. Sometimes we don't do the breakout room until 10 after 9, and then we still have 20 minutes. But that's just I'm just one voice here.
Hi, Ingrid. Bye, Leah. So we'll open maybe 5 minutes for anything that wants to come in this space together as a community.
I can mention something, Beth. This is Gray. I noticed a pattern when I was deeply connected with my body. And after a few times of speaking out loud, I noticed that all my attention was going up into my head. And so I wasn't from being connected, it would go up like that. And so then I consciously, after that, would consciously keep my attention in the body. So that was a wonderful discovery.
Wonderful.
I mean, I think I've observed the mechanism in the past, but not in such a focused way and with the ability to shift it.
Beautiful. Yeah, you notice that ability to shift it with a conscious awareness.
Beth, hi everybody. Thank you for this prayer practice. The whole of it feels really very settling. And it was interesting for me how I went to some of my core stories. Some of the words that I long or I exist or trust or hope, or went right back to some of the core stories, disruptions, healing. And it does feel right in this moment that's my path on this life. That's the path. So thank you. I think somebody else did ask in the chat, but maybe you responded. This is a Sufi prayer, right? And Latifa means something. Does Latifa mean something?
It is the Latifa prayer that came as I read it in the article. It's a Latifa prayer that started in the Sufi tradition, as I'm understanding it.
And Latifa, is it a tribe or is it Native American tribe?
Yeah, on page 2 of that article, if you want to read through it.
Okay.
This Michael Dursk, who wrote this article, describes the Latifa was passed down orally in the Sufi tradition.
I think Beth, Latifa means kind and pleasant and friendly in Arabic.
Thank you, Shashi.
Oh, thank you, Shashi.
gentle, kind, pleasant, friendly.
Yeah, Latif refers to easy breathing, the kind you use to turn inward to find your core. The Latifs are spots in your body where subtle human characteristics are located. So it's not a tribe, it does sound like a tribe name, and I would think there might be also a Latifa tribe where the Latif came from. I haven't done that research, so I apologize, Sophie.
Thank
It's an Arabic name, Latifa for the women and Latif for men. Latif for men. Latif.
That's so helpful.
Thank you.
This is my first time here.
Well-
Thank you, Lynn. Yeah, I'm not an early morning riser, so this was lovely. It was incredibly settling, and I found it three things. Whenever I said it really, I felt validated by myself. And when I said you, I felt, this more acknowledging a higher power within me, that I believe we all have access to anyway. And then was for me the reminder of not only am I many selves, but I am in a collective, a universal collective of other beings, not just human beings, but beings.
Right.
And so it brought that element of the collective. So thank you.
Welcome. Welcome.
I always say we encourage you to speak if there's anything that's a little, a little tickle in you that says, oh, I have this to say, go with it.
Oh, I can go with a little tickle.
I could see that on your face.
Yeah, because as I've been sharing with Sophie, it was interesting because here it's 4 p.m. and I'm from Poland, and I felt kind of unexpected will to fall asleep. Like I remember stopping on hope and waking on I being prepared, and it was.
Then that's all you need, hope and be prepared.
Maybe. Yeah, but then also realizing it was kind of attached to my memories, that what you've been saying about touching and like this primary need and it kind of touched the anxiety in me, that maybe I did something wrong, that not enough in touching
Mhm.
in touching to my sons. And then I kind of, and this is a very tender part of my heart, like always having this internal dialogue. Did I did something wrong? Did I do something wrong? Like having adopted sons, and then their endless need for closeness, and this something like that. And I felt like all this prayerfulness, like this pricky, sharp sizes emerging in me, in my stomach, and then there was this something like melting quality from outside, like like wrapping me up in self-compassion, something like that. So and when you said now that's all you need, hope, and then being prepared, it's like a beautiful closure for my experience.
Yes, yes, yeah. Right. It gave you this all-encompassing wrapping closure to bring you into this space of hope, and you are prepared to care for these adopted children.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. And what is still stays in me, like I have also what Sophie was sharing, that this was a whole life journey in this. So this was wow. Thank you. Thank you again for this hope, and I'm prepared.
Yes.
Lindsay?
Yeah. I heard it said the other day that hope's not an emotion, it's an action, which I like a lot. It's something you don't have to feel, but if you start moving in that direction, taking action, then that in itself is what hope is. I feel I need to say something as I'm an adopted person. And I had found the very beginning of the touch very difficult, even from my left hand to my right hand, being present with what lies underneath my skin and how I'm perceived by the outside world. Actually knowing where my skin is problematic.
And so there's like hope is maybe the one location where it feels like there's some implied action that's inviting you into a direction.
Both the longing and the hope I was very comfortable with.
Ah, yeah.
And I see in my life my speaking about my experience of being adopted as the embodiment of that sharing.
Right.
Could you say that last word again? I missed it. An embodiment of that.
Sharing.
Uh-huh.
From there's a quote from one of the adoptee websites that as a group of adult adoptees, they don't have a specific view on adoption per se, other than it's better with the adoptee voice included.
So there's something highly sensitive to touch as an adoptee.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Or maybe it depends on age of adoption. I was adopted at birth. I was one of that generation.
Yeah.
So straight out the womb, and gone from that family.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's something just in this practice, and I would encourage or invite you to continue just with these two spots. There's something about I long and I hope that there's some ease there, some comfort, or some capacity to come to connect in that embodiment space for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
I also somehow felt that the touch was difficult, and I was surprised at that because I love touch. But there was something that I think wanted the touch from someone else or something. I'm not sure. I'll have to really focus on it. But it was important that the less dominant hand holding this was comforting, holding the other hand, and the touch, it felt like needed to be comforting and sort of almost holding myself in.
Mhm. Yeah, so there's that surprise that comes when we explore and focusing, right? There's that surprised, right? Because you love touch, but there's something about this.
Or maybe something about this in this moment, right? That might not be in another moment. I'm wondering if other people felt like the touching brought a whole dialogue, opens up a dialogue that then needed to, for me, be put into words in some kind of way for myself.
I think the touching for me brought a sense of safety in the moment. And it was the opposite, because what came up was the surprise for me was the touch from another would be unpredictable in the way it felt, whether it was safe or not. So when I was touching myself, I could count on myself in that moment, in those moments as we move through it. It had a predictability.
Yes.
Every part for me. And as I was saying in my breakout group, it helped me feel more integrated, because that's one of my issues, that I feel like I'm often all these split up parts, and I don't know who's talking or who I should give voice to. And then my identity just gets lost. So there's something in the act of touch that brings me together and brings a wholeness to me. That was my experience today.
Yes. Yes. I think maybe we have time for just one more comment.
And we have a poem from Dorothy.
A poem, right?
Say something.
Yes.
I had Beth in my breakout room, and I mentioned that at the very beginning when we were invited to take the breath, I think because of her grounded presence, I was more present. And I felt the breath come in as a caress, permeate my whole body, and expand my space. And what's happening for me right now is very profound, because it's a carrying forward of that, so that there don't seem to be boundaries. So I'm more present with myself, and I'm not feeling a separation between myself and everything else. So I don't know, this might go back to Jen Lynn's We Are Interaction, but it's really very expanding and a profound experience.
Wow.
Beautiful.
Okay, I think we're ready for Dorothy's poem. Thank you so much, Beth.
You're welcome. Thank you for playing with me here and trying this out.
Yes. Thank you, Beth. And thanks for this poem. This is called The Sense of Touch. The poet calls herself Vasha M. And I did put it in the chat. In the very beginning, it's in the very beginning of the chat. Heal the soul, wandering like a ball. Wrapped as bud, hold great cord, woven in fashion old, but are the real gold. Fingers feel most, eyes visit and consent. Image on mirror of soul reflect. Flashing dreams on path to conquest. Imagery world revolve. Sensory support govern. Me and you just at sunset, dining on feast of memories.